My name is Ada. My speech is called Roughhousing. I use they, them pronouns. So, same relative height, I like that. It's just too much. I was raised roughhousing. My father, ever the teacher, guided me through martial arts defense maneuvers, sometimes making me late for school in his enthusiasm. No pink or blue marked my arrival into this world. No frilly clothing aside from the box of dress-up clothes and mother's lipstick I kept under my bed. No designated doll houses or tea parties or Barbies. The one Barbie I did have waged wars with my G.I. Joe. Her giant whacked-out proportions usually tore him to pieces, but once in a while his resilience paid off well. The stuffed animals warred with each other too, huge drawn-out battles that lasted hours on end. But after the fighting, we would all sit around and talk about our feelings. My childhood was around as neutral as could be expected of my parents, who probably weren't as concerned with the types of toys they were giving me as they were the entire nights I would go talking to myself and sprawling around my room fighting imaginary enemies. When I started to question my gender identity, it was well after it began to stretch out of my own skin. My discomfort in dresses and skirts was chalked up to tomboy, and I took some amount of pride in it. I adopted a swagger. I scoffed outwardly at my friends' crushes on boys. Tomboy is a convenient word because it grants the ability to be somewhat an outcast without it being socially unacceptable. I didn't really need to think about it, and so for the most part, I didn't. When I discovered my sexuality, which at the time was simply gay, I replaced words like tomboy with soft butch and felt equally as satisfied. It was the autopilot option, something that gave me definition without real substance, or even real definition at all. It felt comfortable. It felt safe. The middle of 10th grade found me rediscovering my gay identity. I tried on the word queer instead. It felt better. I got honest with myself about my attraction to boys. That one didn't feel so good, but I wasn't about to act on it anytime soon, so it was fine for the most part. I didn't think bi fit the bill, so I wasn't sure what to call it, and I was also feeling less and less okay with the labels business entirely. I wanted to be queer in an educational but also combative sense, as in, yeah, ask me and I'll tell you, but I probably won't be nice about it. That helps nothing and no one, but I liked it. It made me feel aggressive, and aggression made me feel kind of sexy. I figured, though, that I wanted to educate myself on my changing identity, so I did some extensive research, aka impromptu foray and Google searches, and I found a plethora of queer stories. I also found information on gender identity. Gender identity. It wasn't the first time I'd encountered the word, but as I learned more, it started to take on a real heaviness in my mind. It permeated my everyday activities. It was always a nagging question in the back of my head. I sung in the choir in high school. We were told to dress professionally for each performance we had, which meant knee-length skirts, shoulders covered, small heels recommended but not necessary. I hated it every time. But for the first time, I was really finding out why. My mind felt stifled. My body felt wrong, physically wrong, in a way that was more than discomfort. I flinched at a compliment. I look so good in that dress. Thanks. I'm suffocating. My sheet music is ripped to shreds in my hands, but yes, I'm glad you think purple is my color. So it didn't precisely feel right when I started to call myself genderqueer. It felt better in some significant vague way, but my few examples of genderqueer people in society had one thing in common: body types. Body types that let them get away with it. Body types that played the part. Gender identity is not something that one should feel they have to get away with, but I wanted to be seen the way I identified. Not that I really knew the way I identified. I just didn't want to be seen as immediately female. I didn't want to fulfill the assumptions some stranger made upon first glance. I was just jealous. I wanted to look like those androgynous bodies, so I could fit into men's clothing, so I could use words like dapper or handsome in a sense to describe myself without feeling like a lie. And the very few times I actively wanted to wear a dress, I'd just wear a dress, and it being my color would be my only concern. If I could look the part for everyone else, that vague, thin question mark of a body, or anything remotely close, I thought I would be much happier. It scares me how true that still feels. My body image and my gender identity will never be separate. It chews me up in ways I can't say aloud. I was already so unhappy with my body as a female-identified person, and this certainly didn't make things better. I am fat. I have curves. They aren't in the right places. They aren't in the wrong ones either. They're just everywhere. They exist. They're there. It has taken me so long to arrive at a point where I can say that aloud. The gender stuff just complicated everything. I think I must have some intrinsic desire to comply with what I'm seen as, just so I can play the part. Something in me has always wanted to just play the goddamn part, but that would hurt more than anything. The best thing I can do for myself is take it day by day, feel it out, wear whatever feels best, or in the bad ways just hurts less. And I still have no real concept of my gender. It certainly isn't static. It just is. It moves around, it throws me off balance, it changes every 2 hours. I have to own all of that. To stop thinking about gender presentation as if there is a right way to go about it takes a good chunk of my energy every single day. I'm still incredibly jealous of the body type that got away. Every day I wake up and look at myself in the mirror and wonder how much easier it would be. And every day I have to wrestle with that thought, or at least leave it chew at my brain until I can hopefully think about something else. But this is what I know. It wouldn't be any more right for me to have that body. It would just be easier. And I guess I don't even really know that. The myriad of issues that come with anyone having any kind of body ever is long and frankly fucking ridiculous. There's not a right way to have a body. Identities aren't clothing. You don't have to physically fit into them. You just have to know they're there and learn the best way for you to exist within them. And dealing with that within the context of a fluctuating gender identity is my struggle. It's my ongoing fist fight. It's why I roughhouse. It's just my way to live. Because this, all of me, is not wrong or right. It just is. I just am.